Welcome into another edition of New Track Record Podcast from the WELT Studios. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you. Hello, Justin.
Hello, Caleb Hatch. How are you?
Good. I hope you are enjoying this nice, beautiful spring day before we get
It is. Gosh, it's felt like
storms
a summer
and
day.
cold weather again.
Yeah,
spring is crazy in the Midwest.
It's up and down day by day. I think the high is tomorrow is supposed to be like 30 or like mid 40s or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's hit 80 today, so it's not a spring day. It feels like a summer day outside, and then summer storms this evening. So, you never know what you're going to get. That's why when we talk about Indianapolis and either the test or even the GP once you get into May, like you have no idea, really. I mean,
no.
You can cross off snow by the time you get into May.
Can you?
Most likely.
Usually.
But is it going to be 95? Is it going to be 55? You have no idea. And we're feeling the full gamut of that over the next 24 hours here. It's 80 degrees right now. It's supposed to be close to freezing tonight and get up to like 42 tomorrow. So this is what we deal with in Indiana, in the Midwest, in this time of year.
Meanwhile, as the NTT IndyCar Series heads down to the Birmingham, Alabama area, Leeds to be specific.
Did you enjoy your week off without IndyCar?
I did. I mean, I don't really know. Like, what did I even do on Sunday? Like, I'm trying to think.
I felt like
watch some basketball, probably.
Yeah, the basketball tournament going on. I think it was a good week off. I just, for the first time in 3 weeks, I wasn't chasing it. I wasn't multiple sessions behind all weekend, which I'm notorious for. So.
And you're really going to be chasing it.
I'm really going to be chasing it this weekend.
Driving to Florida, right?
Yes, we'll be in Pensacola Beach. I hope YouTube TV, I'm able to access that. That's my hope. That's my prayer. But we'll see. But I'll be going by the Birmingham exits heading down.
Stop at the Buc-ee's.
Yes, I should stop at the Buc-ee's. We stopped at the Buc-ee's last year coming home.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
Insanity.
God. Worst ever. Like,
if you stop at a Buc-ee's, plan for an hour.
Seriously.
Half hour is best case.
It was people going to and from spring break. It was an absolute madhouse. I think I would enjoy Buc-ee's a little bit more when I don't hit it during spring break.
Yeah, I made the mistake. My first Buc-ee's experience was on the way to Knoxville to visit family a couple years ago, and they opened one, I think, in Richmond, Kentucky, and it was around July 4th, and it was insanity. And my wife, who's been to many Buc-ee's, especially more so in Texas, it was like, yeah, that was like a lot. We'll go back. It'll be less busy. And we did. And it was way more chill, way more fun too.
Yeah. As opposed to wall people.
Yes.
So we may stop at a Buc-ee's, but this time of year on that stretch it is packed. It is definitely packed.
So
hopefully it's definitely packed at Barber.
Yes. The weather looks like it'll be nice. In fact, it'll be cooler down there than it is here. I think by race day, it looks like it should be around 70 degrees or so for Sunday. Great event. As they jokingly always say, the masters of IndyCar road courses, but should be great. We'll talk about Barber in a bit. But since there wasn't a whole lot of news to get to this week in the world of IndyCar, we kind of saved some topics, and I thought this week would be a perfect week as we're still looking for 33 entries for the Indy 500 and talk about one of the things that has happened over the years in the sport that I think has only gotten worse in the last handful of years. Not that it was really doing great in and of itself before, but that's like the exclusivity issue. So if you look at IndyCar and you look at IndyCar at its peak, whether you say that was the 60s and 70s, whether you say that was the 80s, whether you say that was the 80s or 90s, or even before, I don't think you could really argue anything after due to the split. But you look at what they had, and oftentimes multiple chassis manufacturers, multiple tire manufacturers, multiple engine manufacturers, and by multiple I mean more than two, and you didn't have charters, and you didn't have leader, circle, or team as it was originally known as. You had people showing up to race, you had a minimum standard to qualify, and you raced. And I understand that there's a lot different in society compared to 30 to 40 years ago at a minimum. Obviously, tobacco companies can't sponsor in racing anymore, and that was a huge hit for the sport. Whether we want to acknowledge it or not, I mean, that also kind of coincided, about halfway through the split era. So that's a big factor, and we can't deny that it's not. But beyond that, you have to look at what the series has done by helping their full-time teams at the disadvantage of part-time entries, Indy 500 one-off entries. And it's not just OEMs, right? We talk about engine leases, and that goes back to the kart days even, where they were practice engine, qualifying engine, race engine, which is absurd.
Right.
I don't know how they afforded that because they had essentially top level sponsorship like they have now was what it was then. So we're looking at your money going a lot further. But still, it's crazy that we're in this era, and this to me feels like the one big thing, beyond obviously TV ratings, it's kind of holding IndyCar back, is just the focus on exclusivity instead of opening things up. Now, I'm not saying they need to have 2 tire manufacturers and 5 OEMs and 3 to 5 chassis suppliers, but I think there needs to be a little bit of wiggle room in some of these areas that would help IndyCar instead of hurt it.
When you look at what IndyCar's strategies have been in the last couple of years, particularly since Roger Penske has taken over, is the health of the full-time teams and adding value to those that are investing for entire seasons into the sport. And it wasn't very long ago that we looked at a grid that had probably half of the teams were very, very much so struggling in terms, they were on very uneven ground in terms of whether they could continue. When you looked at some teams and you said, gosh, where are they at 3 years from now? I guess my thought is at the time right now, the series is still trying to let's make sure our full-time teams are as taken care of as possible and on as solid ground as possible before we worry about any Indy onlys or part-time entries into the series. Now, my question is, and I'm not sure of this, is at some point, does IndyCar make some rules to then welcome those back in? Or in your opinion, has the door closed on those, which we can both agree that it has, at least temporarily? Mm-hmm. Will it open back up? Or do you feel like this is the future going forward? It's going to protect the full-time teams, but we're also very much going to lack pretty much anybody doing Indy-only programs as a team, except for Dreyer and Reinbold at this point. And who knows how long Dreyer and Reinbold can keep doing this. Every year we keep hearing talk about, well, maybe they do more races, but what's the incentive for DRR to do more racing when you mention they're not eligible for Leader Circle, they're not eligible for charters, so what is the incentive? So I guess my thought is do we feel like maybe this could open back up at some point, or is this the new landscape of IndyCar?
It feels like it's the new landscape because when you have a team owner running the series, they're going to protect the best interests of the full-time team owners. I mean, that's just the reality. And we saw that in kart, and ultimately that failed because of it. I think the big thing in all of this is if you're interested in competing in IndyCar, and we've seen this with Prima, there isn't, as you said, an incentive to sign up. And for Dreyer and Reinbold, they're lucky that they're kind of like grandfathered in because they're a previous full-time team that IndyCar is willing to keep them in the club, so to speak. And so they're going to be given every opportunity. But the charters especially were like a big thing to me that, okay, cool, you get a stake, no one knows what it's worth, and if you're trying to sell your team, are you really going to get the number you're hoping for? It's really hard to place a value on that, and it goes back to the exclusivity thing where you should be welcoming competition instead of pushing it away.
It is, to me, the goal of the current ownership of IndyCar and the teams, because let's make no mistake, this is driven largely by the teams as well, because they want assurances that they aren't going to be bumped from the biggest race in the world, right? Mm-hmm. They want assurances that they're getting max value for their investments, of which it is heavy, into the sport, right? And you just feel like for a lot of different reasons, IndyCar is not Formula One, and majority of those reasons, it's a good thing. But I feel like IndyCar is going more and more Formula One-esque in terms of, these are our teams. If you want to play in our sandbox, you have to join with the same rules as everybody else, and we have to agree to let you in. That's exactly what the Concord Agreement is within Formula One. And while it took forever for Cadillac to get in, formerly Michael Andretti's Quest, right? And it was just the latest attempt of a team to try to break into the paddock in Formula One. And the other 10 teams had to get, $400 million each to welcome Cadillac in. I just feel like the doors not only have been shut at IndyCar for new teams or part-time teams or Indy-only teams, but it has been reinforced. That door has been reinforced with steel with every passing day, and you may as well put a safe door and spin the dial at this point, right? Because it is very much a club, very much just like Formula One, and it's going to take a lot for you to be welcomed into the club.
We have, so far, 2 Indy-only entries that aren't associated with a full-time team, and that's Dry and Reinbold. Now, we could have a third with Abel Motorsports and Jacob Abel as they're trying to put something together, but it all goes back to that, where when you have the full-time teams and then they add an extra entry for the Indy 500, you've essentially closed the door off for competition. They're saying, we're going to hedge our bets, we'll run an extra car or two, and believe that we're going to be able to not only make the race because they have, more assets, and the series, I think, is also encouraging it to the point that there are no true one-off Indy 500 entries outside of Dry and Reinbold, and hopefully a third with Jacob Abel. That exclusivity factor, again, it's not just the Indy 500. There's so many areas where this is the most obvious one right now, as we're trying to get the 33 entries, and we will. I don't think we're concerned about that. But this shouldn't be a problem year after year after year. And there are so many factors, whether it's full-time teams all choosing to run an extra entry so they can bump out smaller entries, whether it's the manufacturers not giving drivers who have the funding, like we saw last year with Catherine Legg.
And this year, right now, with Catherine Legg.
Yeah, and this year so far. I mean, she is ties to Chevy this year, but where's the team? I don't know. We talked about other areas. I mean, you can evaluate this stuff every year. I mean, it's closed door. It's Delora, it's Firestone, it's Chevy and Honda, and that's it. There are not other options. And because the series has been owned, now going on 30 to 31 years, by the Indianapolis Motor Speedway ownership, I think that has only made this problem worse. If you had those two entities separated, it would, I think, foster more competition, but because they're combined, largely because the series is not as worth as much as the Speedway and the Indy 500 and all those assets, then the ownership can dictate all the terms and say, this is how it's going to be. We should not be struggling to get to 33 entries. The last time we had above 35 entries, where we had 36, was 2019. That was actually the last full year of Holman ownership. Well, I guess second to last, since technically Penske took over. Well, no, that would have been the last. Penske took over January 2020. So you look at it, and they have put so many areas where I think there are a lot of good things happening in IndyCar right now. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the Fox deal, not just on the TV side, but being a stakeholder, a partner of the series in the Speedway, has been outstanding. What they've done on social media, they're improving things in terms of events. They're improving things, adding Arlington, that doubleheader with NASCAR at Phoenix, obviously, Washington, D.C., bringing back races like Milwaukee, hopefully bringing back races elsewhere, or adding races like Mexico City. They're doing a lot of good things right now. And I don't want this to come across like we're complaining. This just feels like the biggest thing that's getting in the way of IndyCar taking that next step. And I did say a couple weeks ago, it feels like IndyCar did take that next step because I believe they did, based on the TV ratings and what's happening. Like, there are some good things, and this weekend will be another barometer check of that. But to truly have a more open formula it feels like the last thing that the series and the teams are holding on to before letting it open up.
And make no mistake, there are a lot of chassis out there. Just 2 years, 1.5 seasons effectively left with this thing. Once we have a new chassis in 2028, there aren't going to be all these teams out there that say, hey, we got a car, maybe we'll put something together, talking about Able.
Exactly.
Right? So this is the time, 2020, 2026, and 2027, we were like, hey, there's so many DW12s out here. Let's throw a car together and an engine deal. And so this would be the time to do it. And as much as IndyCar wants to try to hype up qualifying weekend, it's not the same when there's only 33. We complain about when there's 34, but at least there's a bumping of one car, right? We always say it's kind of absurd to bump one, but bumping one, and you talk about it, it gives you something. But when there's 33 cars entered, Saturday is pointless. And even me, I know everybody's different. I appreciate the bumping aspect more than the pole aspect at Indianapolis. Look,
bumping is way more exciting. I mean, the pole, unless we're going for track record,
which we aren't,
speeds. I mean, we've had some pole records last couple of years, so that was exciting.
But you can win the race from anywhere. I mean, when you talk about the Fast 9, whatever, Fast 12,
if you're in the Fast 12, you can
anywhere,
win,
right?
Yeah.
So, to me, the excitement of qualifying weekend is bumping. And when you don't have bumping and you're actually having to help financially get to 33, which I feel confident, if Abel is that 33rd, he's getting help from Indianapolis. And the closer we get, the more a team's going to be like, why should I try to spend my own money? I can tell Indianapolis.
Well, that's what happened for a long time.
Right.
That happened for, say, 11 or 12 entries instead of one or two.
Yeah, one or two. Look, like you mentioned, everything can't be going right. For even 6-7 years ago, we had the Indianapolis 500. Like, gosh, could anything on this schedule rival the 500? Now we have events throughout the schedule, right? But it still comes down in a lot of ways to the 500, and you just wish. I know we're not going back to 40, 50, 60 entries.
But we could go back to 40.
I mean, could we, though? Not in the current formula.
Well, no, they need a third. I mean, they need a third OEM. Because right now the math to the OEMs is we'll provide up to 18. And I know they've sometimes gone 19. I think there was even a year where I think Honda went 20. I'm not sure on that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the impetus of this is the engine manufacturers just aren't interested in providing more. I wouldn't surprise me, and I kind of don't blame them.
And that goes back to the engine leases and, just kind of how restrictive everything has become. And look, there's a lot of money involved in the sport. And partners like the OEMs are actually losing money, apparently, on these deals. So getting a third OEM and, if by some miracle, a fourth OEM would greatly open things up. At least we hope that we're looking at, you get a third, say, okay, we can provide 13 for the Indy 500. But the reality is it'd probably be 12, right? So, and then say you get a fourth, say, oh, okay, you could provide, I don't know. You get a fourth, say, we could provide 11, but it would probably be 10. Yeah. So the math would change. Like, you'd be trying to save money. So in theory, you think, oh, wow, cool, we could get up to 11 per, but it'd probably be 10 and probably more likely 9 so that you could save money.
And I don't want to blame Roger Penske for this aspect because they continue to pump more money into the purse. Mm-hmm. But if you were guaranteed starting 33rd to break even, I guarantee you would have more interested parties into starting and qualifying.
The disparity between entries that are leader circle entries and those that aren't, I mean, the payouts are astronomically different. Like, it's laughable. Like, you're getting best case, I think, like $300,000 to start, and that simply is not enough money. If you're looking at an engine lease, which could run $1 million, between $1 million, $1.5 million. I mean, for an Indy 500 only deal, it used to be $1 million. Now it's closer to $2 million. And who knows? It could be closer to 2.5 or 3. I mean, the costs keep creeping up when you have the hybrid and you have, aero changes and stuff like that. Like that adds a lot more money.
Everybody's got to buy new cars in a couple of years. I mean, which is much needed. We're not complaining about that. But look, it's pretty obvious that the formula within the series right now is that we're going to take care of our full-time teams. We're going to put so much effort into race day, and the money we pump into the purse is going to go towards the upper portion of the purse because we want to make it as lucrative as possible. We want our teams to go all out to win this race. And when you go out all out to win this race, you want to minimize distractions, and distractions could be running extra cars, right, with an extra crew and having to hire more people and pay more people, all for what? To run and finish 27th? There's a variety of factors, but hopefully with the rise, we hope, with continued ratings and more money being invested in the series from outside sources, not just through Roger Penske, then maybe we can get to a point where we're a little bit more welcoming to extra cars in May. Again, I don't think it's one particular entity, one particular person, one particular reason why, but it just, at least for purists like you and I, it does suck out some of the excitement of May when you look at qualifying weekend and going, there's nothing there. There's going to be no bumping. I really don't care who's on pole. You can win the race from the upper half.
Unless we're going to story like last year.
Right.
Which just was completely unexpected.
True. Yeah. Obviously with Prema being on pole, but at the same time, he didn't even lead a lap.
No.
So how
also
much
wasn't surprising.
Right. So it's like, okay, we focus so much on the race day, but my interests are race day and who is starting the race, right? I don't really care where you're starting the race unless it's 25th or further back where you're going, oh, it's going to be a big time effort to try to win this race. If you're starting 20th or higher, you have a great chance of winning this race. And so for qualifying weekend, let's say you go out and you send it Saturday and you crash, you're still in if there's 33 cars, right? So where's the drama?
Well, and it's an Indy 500 specific example, but again, it carries across the series as a whole. When you have the teams and a team owner, and I get that he's not really involved, at least on race day, with team operations stuff, but they're going to do what's best for the full-time teams. And that decision, while it has made the full-time team stronger, it is all but eliminated true Indy 500 one-off entries to the point that it's almost like its own 25-8 rule where you have 25 full-time entries, where that's limited thanks to the charter system. You have 6 of those extra entries, coming via full-time teams, and then 2 with Ryan Reinbold, and then anything after that is a bonus, and we're lucky to have that bonus. And with all the chassis lying around, being in the same formula for so long, tire hasn't changed, OEMs haven't changed, they've re-upped. This shouldn't be an ongoing thing where we're struggling to get to 33 or 34, but because of the system they've created, it simply closed the door. And we know there are teams interested. Obviously, Prema was interested. We know Pratt Miller was interested.
Prema was interested. I mean, I don't blame the IndyCar series for that.
Yeah.
But, for me is okay. IndyCar has decided to put all its resources into the existing teams and to try to make other events successful to where the Indianapolis 500 doesn't have to subsidize the rest of the season. And we know for a long time that's been the case. I don't know if it's still the case. I think it's less than what it used to be. But that is one of Roger Penske's primary goals, is to make sure the rest of this series can stand on its own and the Indianapolis 500 can stand on its own. So a lot of the moves they had made is for the health of the other 15, 16 races on the schedule, as well as the health of the current full-time teams. I understand that. But I would hope, especially once we turn the page to a new chassis and hopefully renewed interest from a potential third engine manufacturer, that some of the existing rules can be loosened, or there are incentives in which other cars, other teams can venture into the series. But one thing we haven't mentioned too is the car count, and widely reported that particularly the teams currently in full-time and the series would like to see that car count lessened. So that's not welcoming at all either. So, but that also puts added pressure on existing and potentially outside teams to add more cars for May, right? If you go from 27, 26 full-timers to 22, that's 4 more cars you need right off the jump for the 500, right? So there's a lot of things in play, and this isn't like a crap on IndyCar type segment. It is just bringing attention to what we have as we get closer to May, and wishing what it used to be, because that's not fair. We know it's not the same, but at the same time, just the pathways to great stories in this sport in May, from part-time teams to one-offs, is those stories have largely been eliminated. And that's a big part of May, right? It's been a huge part of May over 100 years, is people showing up just for May and impressing and stuff like that. And it's one thing we miss. And I come back to Bump Day, without Bump Day, it just doesn't feel the same.
I'm not naive enough to think we're going to go back to 150,000 on pole day, 4 days of qualifying, 50, 60,000 on Bump Day. We're not going back to that. And that's okay. They have done the best they can. I don't like all the millions of runs that they run for pole. I understand doing it for the last row shootout. That makes more sense to me. But they found something that I guess works. It's confusing to get a refresher every year.
Which we need
the slight changes that they make.
They'll have to make one this year. There won't be a last row shootout at this point, right? So you can ditch that. So yeah.
And if you want to get into the true spirit of competition, which is what the Indianapolis 500 really is all about, it's giving drivers and teams the opportunity to compete in the greatest spectacle in racing. And I feel like of the last handful of years, IndyCar has gone more and more into this country club closed door kind of production when it comes to new teams, Prima being the exception, but Prima still didn't get the full treatment that everyone else already had in terms of being eligible for charters.
Or leader circle.
And that it feels like this exclusivity thing, whether it's in contracts with current partners, not, reevaluating and putting out other bids. It's very full-time team owner heavy in terms of the decisions that are made, and rightfully so. But maybe not every decision needs to be made that way, because my fear is we're just a few years away from there truly being a 25-8 rule where the 25 chartered entries are guaranteed a spot in the Indy 500, and then 8 other cars will be able to make it, and whatever extra left over, whether it's 12 cars for 8 spots, 10 cars, 9 cars, 8 cars, whatever, that's kind of going to be the formula that we're going to, because it feels like that's where this is headed. Whether that's next year, 2 years from now, with the new car, that to me feels like the final destination of where things are.
I feel like the country club analogy is very good, and I am fine with the country club closing its doors to outside members to get its house in order financially and all that, as long as those doors open up to new members at some point. But the longer those doors are closed, I worry that they'll forever be closed.
And I would argue that the house is in order, especially after last year's Indy 500 TV ratings and the ratings for the series and the start we've had this year. The house financially feels in order. We're obviously not privy to all the financials, but things are trending up. Things are looking good, and this feels like that last step. And there are a lot of factors in that last step. Third OEM, a new car, being more welcoming, having bigger payouts for Indy 500 one-off entries that aren't with a chartered team. You see entries getting as low as like $200,000. That's simply not going to cut it. If you bump that up, say double it or move it to $500,000, it's going to be a lot more enticing to one-off entries to not only make it work financially, but also attract more entries. And I think that's the thing that's holding the Indy 500 back, and this exclusivity and closing things off is holding the series and the sport back at this time as well.
The hope is that more money into the series helps them open the doors, but it could very much be Formula One-esque that has buku money and still doesn't want to open the doors.
Mo money, mo problems, right?
Right now, it's the F1, mo money, less entries, or mo money, less. Although you got an 11th team there, but there's no partials, right? Nothing going on in Formula One like that. IndyCar is different, and it feels just a little bit too Formula One-esque in terms of its exclusivity at this point.
All right, let's talk Barber. IndyCar headed to Alabama this weekend. 3 key stats from Chad 200. Alex Palou finished first, second, fifth, and first in 5 starts. One from pole last year, has led 153 laps, 2.8 average finish, second only to his 1.6 average at Laguna Seca. Will Power started on front row 9 times, 2 wins, 12 top 5s, and 216 laps led. Scott Dixon, 9 podium finishes at Barber, has never won. He's made Firestone Fast 6 12 times here, has never started on the front row. Dixon also the only driver to complete every lap in all 15 races. That's wild. So, as we take a look at our preview this weekend, practice 1 is Friday afternoon Eastern time, 3:30, FS2, Fox 1, IndyCar Radio, Sirius XM 218, all the regular channels. On Saturday for IndyCar practice 2 is at 11 a.m. Eastern on FS1. Qualifying 2:30 Eastern on FS1. Warm-up Sunday morning 10 a.m. Eastern FS2. And race coverage starts at 1 o'clock Eastern on Fox. As far as the green flag time, I've actually not seen that on there. Let's
Probably closer 1:30.
I would guess, close to 1:30 for the green flag time. Here we go. This will tell me. It is at 1:17.
So short pre-race.
1:17 Eastern, 12:17 Central, which is local time. We have some cool liveries. Kenny Chesney with Felix Rosenquist, the Sirius XM partnership for this weekend. Also, other changes. We have Allegra with Marcus Ericsson. I assume they'll be back for the Indy 500 as well.
Okay.
Marcus Armstrong also in a Kenny Chesney car, so that's going to be confusing.
Oh, yeah. Let's sure, why not?
Rinus VeeKay back to just the black, green, and white colors of Juncos. And that pretty much does it. The battery wagon, as far as for Penske, obviously Verizon for Malukas, the battery wagon Odyssey for McLaughlin, and PPG for Newgarden, as they always have something different each week. Who's your pick to win this weekend?
Oh, who's going to win this race? Of course, our rule is nobody can pick Alex Palou.
Which is who I would pick.
Which, yes, I would. A guy that's won here multiple times, including the previous 2 years prior to Alex Palou.
You're going to pick.
Is who I will go with.
Yeah.
Scott McLaughlin.
Yeah, that's also who I'm going to be picking.
So both of us are going McLaughlin this week. Over the last 5 years, it's been Palou winning twice, McLaughlin winning twice, Pato O'Ward with a win in 2022. But you and I going with Scott McLaughlin, Team Penske, to win this Sunday.
All right. If you agree or disagree with us, we'd love for you to interact with us. You can always find us on social media. Our Twitter/X handle is IndyCar Podcast. Thanks for the follows. Again, flirting with 1,000 followers. So thank you, everyone. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for New Track Record. On Instagram, the handle is IndyCar Podcast as well. You can email us, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com. Send us your questions, comments, rants, concerns. You can support us via Patreon, patreon.com/newtrackrecord. Thanks to Rob, Reed, and others for their support. And as always, listen on your favorite podcasting platform, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. Short mailbag this week. So let's dive in to the mailbag. And first things first, as I scroll up to find it. And we had posted, here we go. Did you see this about Cleveland and Burke Lakefront Airport?
Yes, I did.
So the city of Cleveland, on their social media channels, wants your feedback on the future of Burke Lakefront Airport. You can take a survey, which I did take the survey.
Now, did it have anything to click with racing or IndyCar?
No.
Did you have to type it in?
No,
Okay.
I had to type it in. But they want your input on what to do. And reality is they're probably going to develop the airport into something, whether that is an entertainment district or parks or a combination.
I mean, here's the thing, guys. We haven't raced at Cleveland in 20 years, almost 20 years. It's probably not coming back, at least in the iteration that we would like to see. I mean, the airport's going to be gone based on this report on what they
unless
do.
Thousands of IndyCar fans all say we want the race back, and it'll at least make them consider it.
Which, yeah, but I guess they're going to develop it for 24/7, 365, and not for one weekend out of the year. So they're really going to focus on what brings the most people to the lakefront and Lakefront Airport area across the entire year, not just one. I would say we need to hope it's some sort of entertainment district that gets built, and then at some point maybe IndyCar returns around that district. They aren't going to have IndyCar first and foremost in their mind when they redevelop that land.
No. But that's not stopping us.
That's not stopping us from dreaming.
Listeners with some replies. This from B. Frank 2511. The city seems set on removing the airport. With the feedback they receive endorsing an IndyCar race, hopefully they partner with the series, design a purpose-built circuit around a new entertainment district in this area. RP is a Cleveland area native. Make it happen. That's a best case.
I don't see anything permanent being built. No. I feel like...
But if you keep the runways and then put, say, a farmer's market there seasonally, where you have tons of parking, tons of vendors, you add festivals. Remember, the Browns Stadium is going to move away in a couple years as well.
Yeah.
Jeff Cerneski said the return is just around the corner, 2008. Lynn _IndyCar said a return to Cleveland would be amazing. This would be a great event to have Green Savory promote, since they're the best promoters of IndyCar races. Problem is, they promote Mid-Ohio, so why would they want to compete against themselves?
Right?
And Tommy the Tree 01 said, give up one Milwaukee race for Cleveland, and IndyCar is singing. Look, I love it. I want it to come back. I just don't think it will.
I feel like that ship sailed a long time ago.
Yes.
Could we see another Cleveland race around the new Brown Stadium, perhaps? Maybe? Potentially. I don't know, throwing that out, the idea in the years to come. I don't see a return to the lakefront. The Burke Airport, even the land. I don't see it. I mean, next year will be 20 years since IndyCar raced at the Burke Lakefront Airport. I don't see it coming back, folks.
We can dream.
The last winner in lights, or Atlantics, then in
Graham
2007.
Rahal?
No, he won back-to-back in the two races in 2006. Rafa Matos.
Ah, yes, Rafa Matos. Yes.
The last winner, 2007. And then, of course, the last winner for IndyCar, Paul Tracy, 2007.
All right, that wraps up the mailbag.
Ooh,
let's
short.
talk about, there wasn't a lot to get to this week. Let's discuss, let's see, some of our favorite topics.
International races?
Yes.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
Not one, but two tidbits to get to. So we talked about Cleveland, a domestic race. But let's talk international races. And first one, this, I believe, was courtesy of Adam Stern. Supercars has discussed the possibility of adding an international flavor back into the annual Gold Coast event. There have been at least some investigation into bringing a NASCAR type of demonstration to town. So, unfortunately, no IndyCar.
And not a race, but merely a demonstration.
So that's the appetizer. Here's the main course. And this translated from Portuguese. But Indy Formula, or Formula Indy as they call it in Brazil, in Goiânia, I believe is how you say it. But according to information from some account, who's a journalist, Flavio Rico, in Brazil, TV Band, or Band TV, which is back with IndyCar this year, is working to bring the category back to Brazil. It was revealed that two cities have bid, one of them being our beloved Goiânia, with the brand new Ayrton Senna International Autodrome, which is a new course.
Really?
There's a picture of it. It looks really cool. They kind of, the runoff areas have like a Brazilian flag like design. Looks pretty cool for the overhead. Not sure how well this would race, but I love the idea.
So it's not a brand new circuit. It was built, but it was redone, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And MotoGP is racing there this year. The track's been resurfaced, upgraded to FIA. Upgraded to be able to host MotoGP. Currently has too low of an FIA, FIM grade.
Is it grade 2?
Currently, yes, but it's being upgraded
that can host
as we
IndyCar.
speak, allegedly. Well, yeah. So, looking at it, they've had Formula 3 there, Formula 4. Yeah, possibility. It's a 3.8 mile circuit, or it can be shortened to a 2.5.
Yeah, the 2.5, ironically enough, is kind of like a giant oval.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking at it right
it's
now.
It's not an oval, but it's kind of like one.
It's like an oval, and it's kind of. It looked like a Martinsville, but they kind of pushed it out on the edge.
Yes. Now it's 3.835 kilometers, which is 2.383 miles, which would be a sizable road course, probably ideal for IndyCar.
It's always the problem with these South American races, though, is the volatility of the politics. Is if you have, a state or whatever politician or a group that wants to back these things, it takes multiple years to get this thing going. By then, they've been voted out or something, or something happens. It's just always so difficult to plan these. But at least in terms of Brazil, that's where IndyCar's had its most success in terms of having events in South America. And so that's when you talk Brazil, that always piques my interest a little bit more, because IndyCar has a past there, and a significant past in terms of amount of races. So it would be nice to get back there, but it's always just very difficult when you're talking South America to believe something can happen, just because of the politics and how quickly things can change.
And how quickly things, or I guess not so quickly, things can change for Kyffin Simpson, retroactively penalized by IndyCar for triggering that late race crash at Arlington that took out Nolan Siegel and Romain Grosjean.
A week and a half later?
I'm not sure why the delay. There was video evidence we saw not even 12 hours later of this happening. But he was moved to the back of the lead lap field.
Which was only one spot
One
anyway.
spot to 20th. Felix Rosenquist moved back up after he was moved back. He was moved up to 19th. I don't understand why it took that long to issue the penalty.
Me neither. Just kind of weird, and it didn't affect too much anyway.
No,
so
just bizarre. Elsewhere, Ed Carpenter's number 33 Slim Fast Special Chevrolet unveiled on Monument Circle in Indianapolis earlier this week. Really cool looking car. Love the color scheme. Slim Fast under the umbrella of companies Ted Gelov owns, which is the co-owner of Ed Carpenter Racing, obviously Java House, Splenda, Stevia, those brands. But this is a good looking car. I'm excited to see it. And you see one of the sponsors on there?
I'm staring at it right now.
Yeah. That's fascinating, right?
Because it says Indiana on it, but I can't see the rest of it.
That's
also,
yes, Indiana. But
Caleb Hatch is on the side of it.
Not quite.
Oh, it just says
not
Hatch.
Quite. Yes, that is.
So leaving it open to interpretation.
The team's official hunger relief partner. So I don't know anything about that brand. There's several Hatch brands. There's Hatch Green Chilies.
Yes, one of your
really big
favorite.
in New Mexico, in the Southwest. There's Hatch, the sleep device, like a sound machine for children, which we have the portable one and then the main one in our home.
Nice.
And now apparently there is this Hatch brand that is a hunger relief company. So there you go.
So it's not to confirm. It's not Caleb Hatch.
No.
On the side of that.
No.
Well,
disappointing, but hey, it gets the brand out there.
It gets the Hatch brand out
Yes,
there.
that's
sure.
right.
But yeah, it's a good looking car.
Very good. Excited to see it on track. And speaking of IndyCar on track, a couple of cool things. First, Fox and IndyCar on Fox coverage nominated for a Sports Emmy. Fastest Racing on Earth, nominated for the Outstanding Promotional Announcement in Sports.
That's fun.
And then they had multiple nominations as well. So really cool for what IndyCar on Fox has done. That was a really good program. And then also the second installment of IndyCar's All-In docuseries on the IndyCar on Fox YouTube channel is actually out as of like an hour or so ago as we're recording on Thursday afternoon. and it looks like they're featuring Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan Racing. So pretty cool stuff. I've not checked out the first episode, so I need to go back.
Me neither. We're not good
watch.
fans.
Yeah, I guess not. I'm not a YouTube guy. That classifies me as an old because I don't watch a lot of YouTube.
But my 3-year-old is big on YouTube. At least when he gives you his tablet, he'll go. Do you have YouTube on a lot for Ted?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't watch.
He doesn't watch. He doesn't watch Miss Rachel and stuff like that.
He watched it once while we were trying to give him a haircut.
How'd that go?
It helped, but it was still a struggle.
This past a couple days ago, Morrison, a 3-year-old, was finally able to get a decent haircut. Hates haircuts, and the wife finally had an idea to just give him his tablet while he was in the chair. Helped tremendously. I don't know what took us so long to figure that out. But he is a very hostile patient, if you will, in terms of a haircut giver. It's not good.
My wife took my son to get a haircut last week when I was gone working, and the bangs were somehow cut way too short. So we're hoping that grows out more so a week from now before Easter, so he doesn't look silly. But
just do the comb over.
Yeah, well, no, they're that short that it doesn't really short, comb over. So that's the issue. All right, let's talk about the Racer mailbag, and it was a relatively quiet week yet again.
There are some doozy questions. There always is. The weirdos always come out in the season. Somebody complaining about the size of or lack thereof of the Arlington Trophy.
There's always something to complain
Somebody
about.
actually broke down the percentages of how often IndyCar races and qualifying is in commercial, which is weird. And then they followed up with I think it was around 23 to 25%. And they were like, well, I don't know if that's high or low. And
that seems fine.
I don't know. Since I watch so many things on delay, I just fast forward. It doesn't affect me. I guess even if I'm watching live, I don't think it matters. The only time I have a problem with it is if you're missing particularly key pit stops when you're in a commercial break. Because especially when you know those are going to happen.
Yes. So the items that you have highlighted as we look at our notes, a Lights team member had the in at Miami for the series to test there. No indication IndyCar exploring a race there.
That's just bizarre. What person in Lights says, hey, I know somebody at Miami Autodrome that will open it up for us for a test. That's
probably
quite the in, right?
Team owner has an in with Stephen Ross, who owns the Dolphins or something.
Must be, but the point being, it doesn't sound like it's the first step towards IndyCar potentially going to a race or doing a race at the Autodrome.
And also this Stingray Rob, no performance clause, and the team has no power to cancel the contract based on his results. He's paying Juncos $10 million a year per Marshall Pruitt.
I mean, here's the thing. With that amount of money, you can finish last every single race, and Juncos is like, we need that money. We're not touching you getting out of that car. $10 million is a hell of a lot of money for Juncos, and they need every bit of it.
For sure. Other fun things, the Carb Day concert for Indianapolis 500 weekend at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway announced Counting Crows and a special guest Switchfoot. I know I'm getting old when the Carb Day concerts are more appealing to me.
I was going to say that. I feel like
This is the first time that I feel like it is
our generation
really becoming appealing.
Have we flipped the page from our parents
from the 80s
bands,
rock?
Yes, to 90s, early 2000s.
This could be the start.
Because Counting Crows is very much mid 90s to,
and Switchfoot early 2000s. I know they're still active, but that's, that was their peak.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm intrigued. Now, I did read that the lead singer of Counting Crows doesn't necessarily always play the hits. So if you're looking for Mr. Jones, I guess that's not as guaranteed as you'd think.
That's on the set list.
I would hope as well.
You don't want a bunch of 30,000 drunk people at Carb Day mad at you because you're not playing
Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, right?
Exactly. And then this note before we move forward. Oh, actually, no. We have. We'll save those for tweets of the week.
Okay.
So this note, sad news coming out of the IndyCar world. Jim McCallion, who is the longtime promoter, president of the Grand Prix Association of Long Beach, passed away earlier this week at the age of 83. He just stepped away a few months ago in terms of saying he's going to transition to a role within Penske Entertainment. Really good story by Marshall Pruitt, kind of talking about why Jim McCallion mattered. And I think his legacy of street racing in the U.S., I mean, he's him alongside Chris Pook and several others who put together the original race, over 50 years ago in Long Beach. It's amazing to think about what they did at that time and what it's become. This was Formula 5000, right? Originally, and then F1 for a few years, and then kart / IndyCar, Champ Car, whatever iteration of IndyCar racing for so long since. But Long Beach was a port city. It was dirty. It was not nice. They essentially dressed it up and made it a destination event, not just for IndyCar, but for race fans. I mean, this is probably heralded as the second greatest street race in terms of street course race in the world. Monaco's the only one that I feel like would kind of rank higher on the list. But what he was able to do and continually make this event bigger and better, and even hang on through the lean years, when Champ Car was fading, and then get it back on the schedule in IndyCar. Look, when IndyCar came back in 2009, it was pretty lean in terms of the recession and IndyCar as a whole after the high the previous year of, the final, Champ Car, quote unquote, race there and the series reunifying. And then this event has been built back up, and now we're seeing grandstand seats sell out on race day year after year. A destination event that I really hope I get to go to one day. And he was one of the biggest reasons why, alongside the late Dan Gurney and Chris Pook and others, to make this event into what it is and what it's become year after year.
I think it's a bigger success story than Monaco. Monaco's easy to sell because of the locale.
Yes.
Right?
There was nothing to sell for this.
And there's still, look, that race course is still surrounded by the port of Long Beach. It's not Monaco. Let's say that, right? Obviously. Few things are, if anything. But what Jim McCallion was able to do, and he was part of the promoter group to launch the initial event and took over the event, 25 years ago, early 2000s?
Mm-hmm.
Every street course since has taken something, whether a little or a lot, from Long Beach. Whether it's the course, whether it's entertainment outside of the race, whether it's format, whether it's getting other race disciplines there instead of the headliner. Every street course has something that started at Long Beach. And so it not only is a huge event for IndyCar for the better part of, or obviously Formula One stuff for the better part of 50 years since it started, it also is the benchmark and the blueprint for every street course since. Whether they've worked or not, they've all taken something or some things from Long Beach. And so the importance to street racing in this country really owes a lot to Jim McCallion and Chris Pook and Dan Gurney and guys like that put Long Beach on the map for all the right reasons in racing. And what he was able to accomplish, continue to accomplish when he was running this race, and what it's led to across the country in various racing disciplines is nothing short of incredible. And so just over 5+ decades, what he did was nothing short of spectacular.
In navigating multiple course layouts as, real estate changes, probably dozens of different mayors and city council combinations to make this race keep going and not only stay alive but thrive as it is today, and even make it through lean years. It's just incredible when you look back at what this was in the very beginning, and if you haven't kind of looked at what Long Beach was like before this event, it's not great.
It's not.
And this put it on the map.
Yeah.
And it made it a destination. And people thought, this is insane. Why would anyone want to come to Long Beach and watch cars go around in an area that's not, a great area? And the event itself essentially is transformed kind of that area and overcoming obstacles. We talked about the the lean years in Champ Car, merging with IndyCar, 2009, being lean, a couple lean years due to the recession. Obviously, have COVID, and they canceled the 2020 event, but to come back and move it in 2021 to the season finale and still make it work and still stay strong. I mean, there are a lot of obstacles, but what he did, along with several others in their leadership, to make this event is they've transitioned to a new leader in charge of this event. It's truly incredible, and I think this is a big loss. And as Marshall Pruitt wrote about in his column, Jim was very active, going to several events every year, checking in with people, taking notes, trying to see what they can learn from. People obviously would come to their event to try to learn and take notes on how to execute a better event, but just a phenomenal career as a racer himself, and what he was able to accomplish to basically start something from the ground up that stands to this day as one of the crown jewels in all of motorsports.
Yeah, and the premier street race on this side of the world, no doubt.
Absolutely. All right. Tweets of and one other note, Joey Barnes of Motorsport pointed this out. Next 2 rounds in IndyCar, Barber Motorsports Park and Long Beach will not feel nearly as complete with the losses of Mr. Barber and now Jim McCallion. Thought that was a great point.
It definitely is a great point by Joey.
All right. Anything that we missed?
It was a pretty lean week. No racing. We had gotten used to 3 races in 3 weeks. The question is, can IndyCar withstand a week off with the tournament going on and put up another 1 million plus rating? And we'll see. Everybody tune in on Sunday.
We shall see. As Fox added the Marshall Perez's story, they added the Top Gun cam, and they have more changes coming in terms of more camera angles and things they're looking to do. So good to see more capabilities added to the broadcast. Let's just hope they can get timing and scoring to work from the get-go.
Before we add more camera angles, can we get good timing and scoring?
For sure. All right, tweets of the week time, and pretty quick. We have 2, and first one is from Hickey93. Stingray Rob's first 3 results of the season: P21, P21, P21. This has only happened one other time in IndyCar history. Greg Ray started out with 3 straight P21 finishes in the 1999 IRL season. Ray would go on to win the championship that season. So,
really?
Talk about bizarre.
So put money on Stingray.
So keep that in mind. And then this from Andretti Indy. Will Power ran out of gas while driving, and he was set to do a media call. And Andretti Indy tweeted, "Can someone call Will Power an Uber?" And then it was the Will Power, I think, billboard phone number, if I'm not mistaken. So thought that was pretty good.
I felt like with the issues of Andretti in the pits last week, this seemed fitting. And since we blame the Andretti pit crews for everything, let's just blame them for that too.
All right, random split error driver of the week time.
So one thing we had a plethora of in the split error, and I think we mention this every time we talk about a Japanese split error driver of the week, is the wealth of Japanese drivers we have. We're down to one of them for the longest time, of course, with Takuma Sato, and who knows, he could very well drive for another 20 years at Indy with the shape as he is in, as well as Elio. But it's something we are lacking at this point in IndyCar and Indy Lights. But Toranosuke Takagi, also we know him as Tora Takagi, was a driver in the split era. In 2001 and 2002 in kart, he did 2 full seasons with Walker Racing. And, of course, owned by and founded by Derek Walker. And drove a Reynard Toyota in both of those years. Did not win a race, did not have a finish on the podium in those 2 years. He finished 4th at Houston, 4th at Chicago.
Now that's Chicago Motor Speedway, not Chicagoland.
Yes, the Chicago Motor Speedway, where was that? At Cicero, I think, I want to say.
Yeah, I think so.
So it wasn't Chicagoland. So after that, he went to Monon Racing in 2003 and 2004 and did 2 full seasons there. He had a 3rd place at Texas and a 5th at Indianapolis in 2003. The year after, it was after a 4th place finish to start the season at Homestead. He struggled and finished 15th in points. In that 2004 Indianapolis 500, he started 26th and finished 19th. Toru Takagi was heavily influenced by his dad, a touring car driver. He raced karts in the 1980s. He won all Japan National Kart A2 Series races. He went into Formula Toyota, then into Formula 3, and he entered 32 Formula 1 races in 1998 and 1999. So he was a well-known Formula 1 driver prior to starting his open-wheel career in North America. He raced for Arrows F1 in 1999 and Tyrrell in 1998. Both pretty terrible.
Yeah, didn't score a point. Remember, this is in the era where you had to finish in the top 6. Came close several times. His first season had a couple of 9th place finishes in 99 with Arrows F1. 7th at, let's see, was that Austria or Australia? That would have been Australia. 8th at Brazil. But then a lot of retirements and a disqualification. It was not a good run for either team. I mean, reliability an issue for smaller teams in that era, and that certainly was the case for his entry.
This was interesting. After the 2004 season, returned to Japan, got into Formula Nippon racing, and also did some Super GT racing. He won the Super GT championship, let me see, in 2006, I believe. He became the first Super GT rookie to become champion since David Brabham in 1996, and the last since Jenson Button won the championship as a rookie in Super GT in 2018, which I
pretty good namesakes
right?
to be following there.
Very
Brabham
so.
and Jenson Button, not bad.
Not too shabby. So again, he won that in 2005, excuse me. So the year after he raced in Monon in 2004, he won the Super GT as a rookie in 2005. His last season running in Super GT 2008. I thought it was cool. He was part of the kart season in 2002 that raced at Rockingham, the Oval in Rockingham in the UK, which I feel was either Rocky. Go back to either Rockingham.
Either one,
please.
I'd be on board.
Would be a phenomenal. But again, Torunosuke Takagi in this week's random split era driver of the week. We need more Japanese drivers because the split era, if anything, was filled with Japanese natives, and Takagi was one of them.
And that'll do it. We'll be back next week to recap the race at Barber. For Justin Kinney, I am Caleb Hatch. This has been another edition of New Track Record Podcast.